Hey everybody, this is Steve, and we're dedicated to keeping kids safe. At Y2AM, the Department of Youth and Young Adult Ministries of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, we've spent a lot of time developing a clear and compelling vision of ministry. No frills or gimmicks, simply introducing young people to Christ and inviting them to live out their relationship with the Lord in the church. And to really follow through with that vision, to create spaces where young people can encounter Christ and experience a taste of His kingdom, we need to make sure that our youth ministry programs and events are safe. Safe from abuse and scandal, to protect what God finds precious, from wounds that can destroy our communion with God and neighbor. Youth safety is about creating a healthy environment with healthy boundaries, a space grounded in Christ and oriented towards His kingdom. In March of 2009, the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America took an incredible step towards youth safety by ratifying the Youth Protection Manual, a comprehensive guide designed to keep camps and retreats safe and healthy. The YPM includes the essential rules and regulations specifically crafted for the context of camps and retreats. Perhaps most fundamentally, under the YPM, every summer, before campers arrive, we've called for all counselors and staff to be trained and screened, ready for a great session of Christ-centered, kingdom-oriented ministry. As great as the YPM is, and as huge a step forward as it was for the Church, unfortunately it's narrowly tailored to camps and retreats. That means it doesn't apply to things like Hope and Joy and Goya groups, Sunday school, dance groups, basketball and volleyball programs. The list goes on. The vast majority of youth ministry programs and events are simply not covered by the YPM. For years now, parents and youth workers and clergy across the Archdiocese have been reaching out to us and begging us to do more for the safety of our kids and for the health of our youth ministry programs and events. And you're right, it's past time for us to do more. When I was named director of Y2AM a few years ago, I knew it was important that we bridge this gap, that we provide a strong and smart youth safety system to keep our programs and events safe and healthy across the Archdiocese and throughout the year. The trouble was we couldn't simply apply the YPM more broadly because it was designed specifically for camps and retreats. And the more we worked on it, the more we realized that crafting a single, universal policy would be a great challenge. After all, we needed something that could apply just as easily to a Sunday school class with 3 participants as it could to a dance festival with 3,000 participants. For 2 years, we researched the youth safety policies of other religious groups and nonprofit organizations. And we developed and later scrapped no less than 5 different drafts because they simply wouldn't work given the incredible variety of our youth ministry programs and events. Yet, after years of work and hundreds of hours of time and effort, we're very pleased to have created the new policies for the safety of youth and children. The policies are the next big step forward in youth safety, in ensuring that not just camps and retreats, but all youth ministry programs and events across the Archdiocese are safe and healthy places where young people can encounter Christ and experience His kingdom. The policies are the universal rules and procedures that are going to govern youth safety across the Archdiocese. It's a clear, straightforward, and necessary set of regulations that can and will be implemented everywhere we do youth ministry to make sure that our programs and events are safe and healthy. As wonderful as it is for us to have a universal set of guidelines for youth work, we realize that the policies cannot and should not be the last word on youth safety in the Archdiocese. The universal rules represent what we call the floor of youth safety, the absolute baseline that all youth ministry programs and events need to clear in order for them to operate. While no one can sink below the floor, we encourage individual programs and events to build up, to build upon the policies with supplemental rules and procedures tailored for particular programs and events. That's why we're also offering a set of detailed, comprehensive, and adaptable best practices designed to help you make your particular program or event safe and healthy. Because of the incredible variety in youth ministry programs and events, best practices are going to vary depending on the number of participants or the location of the ministry and a host of other variables. That's why we're in the process of revising the YPM, transforming it into a camping supplement to accompany the policies and address the specific concerns of camps and retreats. And we expect Sunday schools and youth groups and athletic programs and dance programs to craft their own supplementary rules and expectations based on our best practices guidelines to build on the floor of the policies. With that in mind, let's take a closer look at what exactly that floor is by taking a closer look at the universal policies. The policies make two important changes to the way we'll do youth ministry in the Archdiocese. First, it creates a new category of ministry workers, who we're calling youth workers, the certified adults who are the only ones allowed to participate in youth ministry programs and events. These youth workers are going to be properly selected and vetted to ensure that they're the right people with the right preparation to lead our kids in safe and healthy ministry. And second, the policies set forth clear rules and procedures about reporting abuse and other inappropriate or suspicious behavior. The policies set forth these clear and critical rules and procedures. And if youth ministry programs and events don't follow the policies, they won't be able to operate. Because if we let programs operate without being compliant, then we're not just putting individual kids at risk, we're putting the entire church at risk. Under the policies, we're going to get more serious and intentional about who we bring in to lead our youth ministry programs and events. Under the YPM, every summer camp counselor is trained and screened, and this is a big part of the success of summer camp programs. We know exactly who's ministering to our kids, and we prepare them to do so. So, under the policies, we're going to apply this principle to all youth ministry programs and events, and we're going to ensure that youth workers are the only adults who can participate. To become a youth worker, a person has to do 3 simple things: register at their home parish, complete the required training, and successfully complete the required background screen. First, registration allows us to identify who's working with our kids, to know them, and know how to contact them. Second, training allows us to make sure that the people who minister to our kids are prepared to do the job and to do it well. This training will be offered to each and every potential youth worker for free by the Archdiocese. And third, screening ensures that the people who are participating in our youth ministry programs and events have been appropriately and thoroughly vetted. Once a person completes this simple 3-step process, he or she will be a youth worker and eligible to participate in youth ministry programs and events. So, as a youth worker, you'll be eligible to apply to be a summer camp counselor, or a Sunday school teacher, or a youth group leader, at the discretion of that program or parish's directors or clergy. And as we said earlier, each of these programs and events can create their own supplements to the policies, to create a more rigorous application and vetting process to ensure that they identify and prepare people who are best suited for their particular programs or events. Of course, once youth ministry programs and events are up and running, we'll need to ensure that abuse or other inappropriate or suspicious behavior is reported clearly and promptly. That's why the policies include clear guidelines about the mandated reporting of abuse and suspected abuse, both to leadership within the church and to state authorities. Consistent with the law, the policies require that all youth workers report both abuse and suspected abuse to state authorities. The policies also include clear guidelines about reporting policy violations and other inappropriate or suspicious behavior. Even though these behaviors don't rise to the level of mandated reporting laws, it's important to make sure that church leadership is aware of potential issues that might be developing. Because if inappropriate behavior is developing, we want to catch it before any kids are affected. And if it turns out that nothing inappropriate was happening after all, we want to make sure that we clear up even the appearance or suspicion of such behavior. We don't want any suspicious behavior being kept in the shadows, and we want all of our youth ministry programs and events to be completely above reproach. When parents entrust their kids to youth ministry programs and events in the Archdiocese, we want them to be absolutely confident that their children are in for a safe, healthy, and Christ-centered experience. Before we wrap up, you may be wondering about follow-through. How are we going to ensure that all of our youth ministry programs and events across the Archdiocese are compliant with the policies? Ideally, we'd be able to create an office at the Archdiocese dedicated to compliance, but unfortunately, at this time, we simply don't have the resources to do that. Make no mistake, tracking enforcement at a central level is going to be a massive undertaking. Some estimates suggest that we may have as many as 5,000 or 10,000 people involved with youth ministry programs and events across the Archdiocese. So how do we handle this? This was another of the challenges we faced while drafting the policies. And after lots of careful thought and deliberation, we created a 3-step process to help us track compliance every year. First, an administrator at the parish will assemble a roster of all the parish's youth workers and send a certification letter to the metropolis or district Y2AM director. The letter will explain that the only people participating in youth ministry programs and events at the parish are the people in the attached roster, and that all of the youth workers have been registered, trained, and successfully passed their background screen. Second, the district or metropolis Y2AM director will send a letter to me, the Archdiocesan Y2AM director. This letter will include a roster of how many parishes have sent in their certifications and explain that the district or metropolis Y2AM director has completed a random spot check to help confirm that there are no issues or gaps in compliance in the district or metropolis. And third, I'll send a letter to the legal committee of the Archdiocese. This letter will include a roster of the direct Archdiocesan district and the metropolises, and explain that my office has completed a random spot check to help confirm that there are no issues or gaps in compliance across the Archdiocese. And that's it. Working together, each taking on a little bit of this project, we'll be able to proudly state that all youth ministry programs and events across the Archdiocese are safe, healthy, secure, and fully compliant with our new policies for the safety of youth and children. Everything I've described for you is in our new policies for the safety of youth and children. The policies for the safety of youth and children were unanimously approved by the Clergy Laity Congress, and they're scheduled to go into full effect on September 1st, 2019, which means that after that date, no youth ministry programs or events will be allowed to operate unless they are fully compliant with the policies. In the meantime, I ask you to please pray for the great ministry work that's happening across the Archdiocese. Pray for our youth and young adults, our parents and families, our ministry workers, our clergy, and offer your support to important new initiatives like the new policies for the safety of youth and children. Thank you very much for your time and attention, because I know this has been a lot. I believe very strongly in our youth ministry programs and events. And I believe that if we're really serious about bringing young people to Christ, then we need to create safe and healthy environments that will allow this important work to happen.